What's up, losers? Today I'm back with another r/fatlogic extravaganza. Taking a look at a couple of funny, wacky, or straight up worrying fat acceptance posts, sharing my opinions on them, and having a few laughs. This is episode 150 in the fatlogic series. Which is neat, I guess. Happy 150 to me. I can't wait for the cake. Haha, but anyway, this is episode 150. And I'm ready to go. So without further ado, let's get into it.
In order to prevent eating disorders, we must make it safe to be fat.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'd say that there's a reasonable middle ground to be found here. Between pressuring people with unhealthily thin beauty standards, which can certainly be a problem, and normalizing fatness as a totally healthy alternative, with no downsides, because, well, that just isn't the reality of the matter. You can try to make fatness safe, whatever that means, all you like, but by its very nature, obesity is not safe. It's a massive, and completely unnecessary, medical risk factor, which kills millions of people worldwide each year, and causes extremely serious issues for many more. Tackling restrictive eating disorders is an important issue. There's no doubt about it. But it does not justify attempts to obscure the harsh truth of obesity. And I'm sick of being blamed for eating disorders, because I refuse to play along with the silly charade of fat acceptance. Furthermore, I kinda resent how this post just defines eating disorders as a fear of being fat, without acknowledging how much more psychologically complex EDs generally are. Like, sure, being afraid to get fat is a big part of having a restrictive ED. But there are almost always deeper-rooted issues bubbling away below the surface that make certain people susceptible to using restriction as an emotional crutch. For this poster to ignore this deeper turmoil, and put everything down to a shallow desire to conform to popular beauty standards, really does a disservice to eating disorder sufferers, who need proper help, not just to be told to get fat. Sarah, yeah, I'm not really feeling this post. Let's not normalize fatness. Let's normalize healthy eating, moderation, and therapy. Okay, cool.
Obese kids more vulnerable to bullies. CNN.com. Children in grades 3 through 6 who are obese are more likely to be bullied than their normal weight peers, a new study has found.
Don't you love how they blame the fat children for being bullied? They're also using a slur to refer to fat children. But that's a different story.
Obese is a slur. I thought it was a neutral descriptor.
Oh bleeps is a slur. It is not a neutral descriptor in the slightest. It's essentially the fat version of the slur. Bleep-tarded. Both medical terms, turned into dehumanizing insults. And I know at least the O word is based on fatphobic pseudoscience. The O word's original meaning is to eat oneself fat, which is again more fatphobic myths and stereotypes. Just call fat people fat.
Damn, this one is kinda tough to respond to. Because on the one hand, you've got a really serious and really sad issue in childhood bullying that I want to treat with due care and sensitivity. But we've also got some classic fat acceptance clownery that's just begging to be mocked. So I'm in a bit of a pickle. I guess I'll start with the bullying part, and then get onto the fat activists' goofy comments. First things first, bullying is awful, not only for the pain it causes people in the moment, but for the steadily accumulating damage that it does to people's self-esteem and social development, which can reverberate through their lives for years to come. It's easy to dismiss bullying of children as young as those identified in this post as inconsequential, and assume that they'll get over it with time. But this is by no means a guarantee, and as such, it is important that we take all bullying seriously, regardless of its nature, or the age of its perpetrators and victims. When it comes to weight, it deeply saddens me to hear that so many kids are being bullied for being fat. I can't say that I'm surprised. But it's still sobering to see such things play out. Nobody deserves to be treated as lesser for having a weight problem in general. But it's especially hard to swallow when the targets of this abuse are children, who are too young to be held responsible for their own eating habits, and are largely suffering the consequences of their parents' shortcomings and not their own. Naturally, I condemn bullying of fat people, at any age, and I think that schools and institutions in which this bullying takes place should take an active role in protecting their charges, and making it clear that bullying is unacceptable. It's a tricky issue to deal with, I'm well aware, but we must all do our best, and not stand idly by as the victimization continues. With all of that being said, though, none of the stuff that this fat activist has to say on the issue amounts to anything that will produce a desirable outcome for fat children, because it fails to acknowledge that in addition to the bullying, children being obese is a problem in its own right, and normalizing their obesity is not going to serve them well in the long run. Obesity is not a slur. It is a genuine medical condition, with devastating health consequences, and if a child is already obese by the time they're in grade 3, they have a very difficult path ahead of them, even if they aren't getting bullied. It's one thing for you, as a fat person, to stand up for fat kids as valuable human beings, who deserve to be treated as such. I can respect, and even admire that, but for you to thrust pseudo-scientific, fat acceptance cultist crap, and all of the shit that comes with it, onto them, without their agreement, and at an age where they're too young to think critically about such things one way or another, is not acceptable in my eyes. And I honestly think it's pretty shameful to bring your stupid ass fat politics into the issue, when you ought to be putting the kids first. Like, if the kids grow up and come to fat acceptance on their own terms, then that'd be a shame. But it is what it is. But for you to make the decision for them, and essentially lock in their fatness as an innate and unproblematic characteristic, before they get a chance to figure things out, just isn't right. So in summary, bullying is bad, and bullying of fat kids is especially bad, but childhood obesity is also bad. We don't have to pick one or the other. We should be looking out for the best interests of these children. And that doesn't include inducting them into the ranks of fat acceptance when they're still learning their times tables. Are we clear? Fantastic. Moving on.
I have such a hard time with this. I actually need to lose weight for my health. I have extreme high blood pressure, and have had a stroke. I have BED. I don't want to count calories, or go on a diet. I don't even know where to start. I saw a dietitian, but she suggested I count calories. I feel lost sometimes.
I totally hear that. I would question the efficacy of a diet. However, to treat those symptoms, if studies have shown that diets don't work, and you will most likely gain weight if you intentionally try to lose weight.
Then how do I lose weight? How do people do that?
The folks that you see online, or in real life, are likely either part of the 5% of folks who actually maintain weight loss, or have yet to gain it all back plus more. I'm not your doctor, but I would recommend trying to find a health at every size certified provider to give you more effective recommendations.
Oh my fricking god, can these fat activists just stop? It's like they're determined to cause as much harm to as many people as they possibly can. Here we've got someone in a really dangerous situation, who's had a goddamn stroke, and needs to get their binge eating under control immediately. And instead of telling them the truth, the fat activist actively discourages them from dieting, further spooks them by bringing up the possibility of further weight gain, and steers them towards Hayes quackery. Unbelievable. I swear man, you could show up at one of these people's houses, bleeding from a dozen cuts, and instead of calling you an ambulance or something like that, they'd just order a pizza, and expect you to be cured by its greasy deliciousness. Ridiculous. Don't get me wrong here. I'm not letting the other commenter here off the hook either. They were obviously looking for an easy way out, when they had already been given the right advice from a trained professional. But I'd like to think that even if someone does go looking for a quick fix, when they should be getting down to business, there won't be a whole bunch of snake oil sales fats waiting in the wings to take advantage of their vulnerability and hasten the descent into an early grave. I guess that's asking too much of people though. Size. I don't know, man, I just don't know. It gets harder to maintain any faith in humanity every day. Oh well, I guess I still get the small satisfaction of hitting back at these fools in my videos. Right, so it's not all doom and gloom. It's just like 97% doom and gloom. Hooray! At any rate, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you had a good time reading through these posts with me, and that you got something out of my commentary. What do you think? Do we just need to make it safe to be fat? To get rid of eating disorders? Is normalizing childhood obesity a smart or proportionate response to fat kids being bullied? Should dangerously obese people just give up on weight loss and hand their life over to some haze loon? Let me know in the comments. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, or I'll tell a bunch of fat activists that you used the O slur, and they'll waddle over and beat the crap out of you. Just kidding, haha. Anyway, catch you later.